Hi, welcome back to Home Time. Well, today we have a wide-ranging area of topics all the way from stone to storage.
Yep, we have stone going down in the kitchen, the front entry, and the mudroom. We're going to talk about how to prevent cracks, what kind of mortar to use, and how to lay out multiple sizes, which is all good stuff to know.
As for storage, we've got a couple different ways to keep stuff organized in activity rooms and utility spaces, so we're gearing up for those. There's a lot to do, so we probably should get moving on it.
Yep, stick around.
Like you, GMC believes professionals work to a higher standard of craftsmanship, discipline, and innovation.
GMC, proud to lend a helping hand to Home Time.
We're ready now for one of the final steps in a story we've been following from the beginning, and that is creating rock-solid floors in new construction. To refresh your memory, we'll take a look back and see what we've already covered. First of all, you need a solid foundation, and we used insulated forms filled with concrete. Then, to frame the floors, we went with some pretty beefy trusses anchored to the ICFs. We covered those with a layer of subfloor panels glued and nailed solidly in place. Later, after the walls and floors went up, we embedded the radiant floor heating tubes with some gypsum underlayment, and with that, the kitchen, laundry, and entryway areas are ready for a finished floor. Now for that, we're going to be using a large format natural stone tile, and that's going to top off our rock-solid floors. Installation will be handled once again by Eric Grams, who you might remember from our stone cottage project. Now before setting any tile, he and his crew are getting things ready by spreading out a very distinctive but very important coating that goes over all the underlayment. It's a combination material serving as a crack isolation membrane if you put on a single coat, but it also has waterproofing qualities if you put on a second coat. What this does is it prevents cracks below it up to an 1/8 inch wide from transferring up into the tile or the grout. Well, Eric, it is really good to see you again.
Well, thanks for having me again.
Yeah, so it looks like things are going really well. This membrane, pretty easy to work with?
It's very easy to work with. We apply it using either a V-notch trowel or a 3/4 inch snap roller, and it takes about an hour to 2 hours to dry, and then you're good to go.
So what is this going to do for our floor?
This is an anti-fracture membrane, and it's going to help with any movement in the house, especially with the heated floor underneath. That's going to add to your expansion and contraction, so this is going to hold the tile together and give you an extra layer of protection.
And this is also a waterproofing agent, right?
Yes, this can also be used as a waterproofing agent. You just have to apply a second coat to it.
So you could use this like for shower pans, bathrooms?
Yes, we do use it in bathrooms and shower pans quite a bit.
Now we can see when you put it down, it starts out as this nice light pink and then goes to this dark red.
Yeah, when it turns red, you know it's dry. And a good thing about having it the color red is you can use black chalk lines and it really shows up well. That way we can still see our layout.
So now once this all turns red, then you're ready to start stone?
Yes, we're going to let it sit overnight and we'll start installing tile tomorrow.
So now for this stone, this tile, are you going to be using a certain kind of thin set for that?
Yeah, we're going to be using a marble and granite thin set.
Now down here in the activity room, we're getting started on the next item that's going to get us a little bit more organized, and that is hanging some cabinets. Now hanging cabinets can be a little bit daunting, especially if you're in a space like this that might have walls that are a little bit wavy, maybe not perfectly plumb, because you're going to end up doing some scribing and some shims to make sure that everything fits properly.
Now this system is really user-friendly. It all starts with a hanging rail, which is the only thing that gets attached to the wall. So what we've done is we snapped a line on the wall to make sure that all our components are nice and level throughout, and then you want to make sure that you secure it to solid framing behind the wall.
Instead of getting a full box, what you get is a bottom, a top, and sides, which all get put together right on the wall. Now, the top of the cut on the sides matches perfectly with the profile of the rail, so you just hang the pieces up and space them out for the approximate width of the cabinet. Now they don't need to be exact because the tops and the bottoms are cut to the right width, so when you install those, that's what's going to pull them together.
These are fastened together with a dowel and cam system. It's really nice because it comes from the factory pre-drilled, so the cams drop right into place. The dowels fit securely. You just tighten it up, brings your boxes together, makes everything work out perfectly.
Now typically what happens is you get a retailer involved. They'll come out and measure up the space, draw up a plan for you. They get your approval and then they come out and install everything. But we've worked with them a few times. We've done these cabinets before, so I ended up drawing up the plans myself. So here's what I like to start with is take a look to see, here's the height of the wall and where is everything going to land. The base cabinets here, the upper cabinets here. I know exactly what those heights are going to be. With that done, then it's nice to kind of drew out the dimensions of the room. These are the different elevations that we're going to be looking at, A, B, C, and D. And then before I start really drawing up any plans, I just kind of like to do sort of a 3D representation of what that whole space might look like. This is a lower level here, this is a garage upstairs. We'll get to that down the road. But so once I kind of have a very good idea of what I want to do, then it's time to start drawing up the actual front elevation, exactly what cabinets we're going to be using. Now they have a lot of different sizes, so you can really fit different sizes in, as well as when you get to the end you can kind of customize some of the sizes. So here you can see the uppers, here you can see all the base cabinets to scale, and that's exactly what we'll end up ordering. So this elevation right here is what we're looking at. This B elevation is this guy right here. And then C is looking at this group of mainly utility cabinets. And then what they do is they send out their version of the plan. These you want to look at very carefully because this is what they're going to build off of. They have exact dimensions in. You see how it's going to look in the room, and look very closely. This is, again, our B rendering right here. These are the base cabinets and all of our hanging area. And then this is the corner leading into all of our utility cabinets.
One thing that makes this system so efficient is that one cabinet will share a side with the one next to it. And if you like the look of a smaller bank of cabinets on top, that's what we're doing here. The only difference is we're going to be building our boxes first, then sliding them into place, then sliding our hanging rail in the back so that everything lines up.
So the idea is that we're going to hang our upper cabinets, get the tops in place, and we might even hang our lower rail.
Yeah, but we're not going to actually hang the lower cabinets until we can actually get our floor done, because it's going to be a lot easier to do that without those there.
And we like easier. Anything we can do.
We like easy.
We like easy.
So I'll start these top ones, okay?
Yeah, hand them up.
All right.
Good.
Well, our crack isolation membrane is definitely dry. It's bright red and ready to go. And what Eric's going to be using is called Medaglia d'Oro. This is Italian for gold medal, which coincidentally is what this stone won at a stone fair in Verona, Italy. Now for this installation, we're using it in 4 different sizes, going down in a random ashlar pattern. The largest one is 12 inches by 24, and that's a pretty big piece of stone, so we do want to make sure that it's properly supported along with the others. And what we're using for mortar is a medium set mortar as opposed to a thin set, which is what we usually use for, say, setting ceramic tiles in bathrooms, for example. Now the main difference is really how thick it can go down, and this can go down up to 3/4 of an inch thick without having the weight of the tile affect it. Now we need that kind of support because we're trying to match heights with the wood flooring that's going into the office and the great room later on. And the mortar is what we're using to make up the difference and make the heights line up just perfectly. Well, Eric, it looks like you've made really good progress.
Yeah, it's going very smoothly.
Good, good. Well, now we're talking about heights, and so we have some difference between the wood floor that's going in later and the stone tile you're setting now.
Yes, there's a 1/4 inch different height between our wood floor and our tile, so we're using a 1/2 notch trowel to pick up the difference, and also a piece of the finished wood floor as a guideline so we can check the heights as we go.
Now for anyone who hasn't done tile before, do you want to talk about the notches in the trowel and how that helps you?
Sure. The larger notch that you have will give you more thin set underneath your tile, so you have a little bit more room for adjusting. As you put your tile on that, it'll compress that 1/2 inch down to more likely a 1/4.
So now thinking about the type of tile that you're using, does that affect what kind of trowel you use?
Yes, that's going to affect which type of trowel and the thickness of the notches. With the larger format tile, you want to use a larger notch trowel, and with the smaller tile, you want to use a smaller notch trowel, and with a very small tile, you use a V-notch trowel.
Now with a large format tile, we know that it's really hard to get all the edges to line up, especially kind of at the corners. So how do you do that?
The trick is to use the right trowel and the right thin set. We're using a larger notch trowel here, so we have a little bit more play underneath our tile, as well as a medium bed mortar, which is going to give it a little bit of resistance to sagging.
And how about the pattern?
The pattern is going to break up your grout lines a little bit, so you get a little bit more play with that. Once you get going, it's easy to follow the pattern as long as you're looking at what you've already had laid.
Now with this pattern, does it take a little more time to kind of get going with it?
It definitely is a little bit trickier to get going. Once you get going, you can kind of look at what you've already laid to see what the pattern is and follow it.
Now there's 2 of you setting today, so how are you dividing things up? How's it working out?
Well, we keep the same name to keep it simple. We're both Eric.
Right.
But we want to plan ahead and make sure we have all our lines and our grid worked out before we start. And we kind of spread out from a center point and just think ahead, and it works out just fine.
Now these tiles have what they call a chiseled edge, and then each one has its own kind of unique pattern. And so are you trying to match anything up, or how are you going about putting them down?
Our mindset is to keep them as random as possible. So we grab from different piles and sort them and place them so that way they look individual from each other. If we have a couple pieces that are identical, we like to spread those out. And the chisel edge gives it a very nice, unique stone look. So do you want to give one a try?
Sure.
All right. It's real easy. We have a good start here. We have our next piece is our cut piece here.
Okay.
The key is we want to keep this factory edge on the inside cut towards the wall.
Right. And don't kneel on the ones that are already there, right?
Right, but if you do, you can always use that sponge to clean it up. Nice thing is your trowel fits right in that space.
Yeah, I know. You planned that, right?
We did.
A little bit more?
A little bit more. You can use more than what you think you'll need.
Is it possible to overwork it?
It is, but maybe not on your first tile.
Okay, so trick to setting it?
Trick to setting it is you want to tuck your front edge right up against the existing tile,
Okay.
and then when you place it down, just give it a little bit of twist and right into the spot and where you think it's spaced out well. And once you get it in, you can kind of adjust your grout joints then and check for height. And if you think that you're a little low, then we can pull it. If you're a little high, we can always push it down. So it's better to be a little high. So now, if you're happy with where you've got it, then what you can do is take your putty knife and just kind of clean out those grout joints. And then once you get some of it scraped out, you just hit it with the sponge.
Okay. Well, it's great having you back. Thanks for the little lesson.
It's good to be back anytime.
So you're hiring, right?
Yeah.
Well, we're moving along pretty well in these cabinets. We have most of the doors up, which is nice. Now, of course, the debate is, do you put all your carcasses up first, get all that done in the room, then come back and put your doors up? Usually we'll do that in the kitchen, but in this situation, it's kind of nice to get everything taken care of, get all the doors dialed in. And the nice thing is you get these up off the floor, so you don't have to worry about people kicking and walking against them. So I think here it works pretty well. Now, the doors themselves are made out of MDF. They're covered with electrostatically charged powder. What they do is they actually bake that powder onto the wood. They melt it right on, so it gives it a nice water-resistant coating, very durable, especially for a shop like this. Now, as far as the hinges go, everything's already pre-drilled. It's just a matter of lining everything up here, kind of tapping them into position, and then taking your screwdriver, 3/4 of a turn, and they're all set to go. And then to install these on the cabinet, you just snap them into the plates that we've already screwed in there. Nice thing about these hinges is you can adjust them back and forth, up and down and in and out, so that's how we're able to dial these things in so perfectly.
Now we're going to be incorporating a third type of storage down here. That's in addition to all of our cabinets and our shelving. That's going to take care of things like extension cords, brooms, stuff that you don't want cluttering up your countertop or taking space in the cabinet. The system starts with these slotted wall panels. These are made with a rigid PVC, and they come in 4-foot or 8-foot lengths, or you could cut them to the size that you need. Now, you could fasten the panels directly to the wall, but we don't like to see any fasteners, so we're using these hanging strips. They come in 45-inch lengths, but they're also perforated every 15 inches, so all you have to do is snap them apart to make the lengths that you need. You screw the strips into the wall, just making sure that the tops are level as you work your way across.
Now, to get started